what we're going to be talking about today is divisible rooms. What I'm going to do is show you the standard velocity divisible room setup, and you'll kind of see what I mean by that here in just a second. So what I've done is I've already created a site within my Velocity Gateway here called Velocity Webinar. And there's a building, and within that building, there's one floor and one room, and the room is called Divisible Room. I'm just gonna go into the Edit Room Technology section here, and as you can see, my room is completely blank right now. So let's go ahead and start adding technology to this. So, you know, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna decide which switcher that I wanna use for my divisible space. Now, obviously for a divisible space with two sides, I'm going to want something that can accommodate at least two displays and multiple sources. In this particular case, just to use something that's fresh and current, I'm going to use our OME PS62, which our OME line is a new line of presentation switchers that we have that also include USB routing and switching functionality as well for soft codec conferencing. So in this case, I will just type in OME PS62, and right there is my OME PS62, a 6x2 matrix presentation switcher with USB, and I'm going to add that in. So the next thing I want to do is I want to add my displays, and I want to add some sources. So for sources, I'm going to keep it simple today because, you know, we're just creating a little basic system here, and so I'm just going to add some laptops. And I'm going to go ahead and add 4 of these because I want to have 2 on side A and I want to have 2 on side B. So I'll add this 4 times, 2, 3, 4. So I'm just going to add that laptop driver 4 times. And then let's add some displays. So again, you know, I'm not actually connected to these devices, so I'm just gonna grab something. You know, we'll say Panasonic. So here's an RS-232 driver for most Panasonic models of displays. So I'm just going to add those 2. All right, so I have my 2 Panasonic displays, I have 4 laptops, and I have my OME PS62. That's all the hardware that I really want to add for now. I'm just going to do a couple little housekeeping things and go in here and just change the alias on these things. So we'll just call this laptop 1. Call them laptop 1 through 4. And then I'm going to configure my displays. We're going to call these display left and display right. All right, and then as per standard, and actually, you know, before I do this, I noticed when I was going into these boxes that I've already got my sections left and right here. That's jumping ahead a little bit. I had configured this yesterday just on a little trial run and forgot to disable the split room section again. So let me go ahead and turn that off for now, because we're going to get to that part in just a second. So now, hopefully, my sections have disappeared here. Yep, okay. There we go. All right, so here's my inputs. So we're just gonna put our laptops on here 1 through 4, starting at HDMI 3 there, because we're just gonna assume right now I don't have any HD-based T sources. You know, and as you guys have seen before also, we have a whole list of icons that you can utilize. If you don't put an icon, it says no icon, but there is an icon still there. It's the little green HDMI connector that you saw earlier. That's what it's gonna place in there as the default icon. I'm just going to go in here and set all these to computer because that's what they are. And of course, you can also add your own icons, custom icons if you want to do that as well, on top of the hundreds of other options that we have here. And then I'm going to go down to the outputs, and we'll pretend this is another HDMI output, not an HDBaseT output. But either way, you could always just buy a receiver to put on that HDBaseT output. So display left, display right, HDMI 1, and then I'm going to hit save. Now all these save buttons are going to do the exact same things. It's any save button that you hit is going to save everything. So I just saved that. So now I've created my basic layout, and if I go ahead and hit my control page button, it's going to pop open my little user interface, which you know, you guys have seen this before. This is the standard basic user interface where I can drag and drop various sources to these displays. Pretty basic stuff, right? But what I want to do is I want to be able to split this room down the middle, right? And have a left side and a right side. And when I hit the combine button, it's going to combine them. When I hit the split button, it's going to split them. So let's get into that. So first thing I want to do is I want to go to room control options. And if I scroll down on my room control options, as you saw earlier, because I had to go in and turn it off, there is an enable split room button, right? And so when I click enable split room, there's also this button, is room currently split? Now this is just a more or less to test functionality, what it looks like when it's split, what it looks like when it's not split. I'm going to disable this is room currently split button right now because I want the room to be currently combined as I configure it. And then I'm just going to save that. Now, the only thing that really changes when I enable split room is now everything that I see whenever I go into the edit here is going to add a section down here, a little a spot called section down here. And that section lets me say that this device is in all sections, left or right. So I want to specify where this display sits, so that when the room is split and I have a control interface on the left side, it knows what devices to put in that left side. And when I have a control interface on the right side, it knows which devices to put on the right side. So this is my display left, so it is going to be on the left side. So I'll save that. And I believe it's going to default everything to left, I think. So we're going to go into display right, and we're going to set this one to right. And now I also have this setting here in my laptop, but since where these devices are being shown, as in, you know, where the icons are being pulled from is here in the switcher, you'll notice that I have a selection in the switcher inputs as well. So this is where I want to make my settings for my sources. So for each one of these, I want to tell it which section it's in. So I'm going to do 2 laptops, 1 and 2 in the left side, and 2 laptops, 3 and 4 in the right side. All right, and I'll save that. All right, so so that's taken care of. So I've set everything to the left side or the right side. Now, you know, as you may have seen, there's no way, or there's currently nothing on the screen that allows me to say I'm opening the room or I'm closing the room. And today we're going to assume, let's say, hey, there's no air wall in this room, or maybe there is an air wall in this room, but there's no air wall sensor in this room. And effectively, the way this room is going to work is there's just going to be a button on the touch panel that says combine or divide. And when you hit that combine or divide button, it's going to trigger the opening or the closing of these rooms. So effectively, someone would walk in, go over to the interface, and set the room up before they use it. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a couple of macros. And again, I think I forgot to delete these. I did, so let me just delete these really quick, and then we'll recreate them. Sorry about that. So you'll also notice that we've added another section to room macros here. now that we've split the room, which is open, left, or right. So now anytime I create a macro, it basically asks me, where is this macro going to show up? I want this macro to show up everywhere, right? Because anytime, regardless of whether we're in the right side, the left side, or the open state, I want I want both of these macros, open room and close room, to be present in the macro drawer. So we're gonna go in and we're gonna create a macro called open room. Oops. And my open room macro, we're gonna go to velocity. And as you can see, there's already just a default open room and close room state here that just tells velocity whether or not this split room is open or closed. So this is my open room, and then it's gonna ask me which room. I've only got one room on this gateway, so it only gives me the option of the one room called divisible room. And again, I want this to populate in all three states of my room. So then we'll create a second macro. This one's gonna be called close room. And pretty similar, we're gonna go to velocity, and it's gonna actually default to close room because that's the top selection there. And divisible room. And then again, we wanna set this for all three states. So now I'm gonna save those. All right, and so now I have one more thing that I need to do, because in order to demonstrate this, I need to demonstrate it with effectively two touch panels, right? Two user interfaces, one on the left side, one on the right side. And just like I've gotten all of my gear here, and I've got a split room, and it shows me the section that that device is going to live in, it's going to do the same thing for my user interfaces. It's going to, when I add a user interface, it's going to tell me, you know, is this going in the left side or is this going in the right side? So in order to demonstrate this, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open an incognito tab for this browser. 10.0.20.51 is my gateway. So if you open an incognito tab, this is the little pro tip for you. It doesn't realize that you're logged in, right? Because you're in an incognito tab. And anytime you go to a velocity gateway, you can log in, or you can sync that page, that HTML5 page, as a user interface effectively. So when I hit sync here, it's going to ask me what this device is, and I'm going to call this left interface. And so now it says, hey, you have a request from IP address this, which is the left interface, and I can go in and I can synchronize this to my room. Right? So that's going to go ahead and synchronize, and I'm going to get a nice little user interface there. And then I need one more, so I'm gonna open up Firefox as well. So we're gonna go back in 10.0.20.51. Okay, so I'm gonna hit sync here, and I'm gonna call this right interface. And then here's my right interface that I'm gonna synchronize. Okay, so now if I go back into my technology page, I've now synchronized a left interface and a right interface. However, I haven't told it which sections these are going to be in. So right here's my selections, left and right. So I'm going to go here and say that this interface is going to be in the right section. This one's already set to the left section by default. And if I open these back up, I now have my two interfaces, my left side and my right side. Now remember that I told it that the room is not currently split, so I should have these things mirroring each other, and I should see the left side and the right side, which I do. And then when I click my macro button, I get my open room and close room button. So if I hit my close room, now my room's split. So I see my display left with laptop 1 and 2 on the left side, and I see my display right with my laptop 3 and 4 on the right side. And you know, again, I can open room or close room from any side, and that's going to automatically update both sides. And there you have it. That's how you create a simple two-way divisible room with velocity.